All right, greetings by fellow freedom sovereign thinkers. This is LL3's newest podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful swampy mangroves of South Florida. And today's date is Monday, January 16th, 2017. Yeah, looks like I had a little quick dropout when I tried to do the show. But looks like everyone's having a paying homage to Dr. Martin Luther King. So, yeah, I'm at CJ's Java Lounge, located at 400 Northwest First Avenue, along the beautiful New River in Fort Lauderdale. So, give it a shot. Little mom and pop place. Good folks. Nice coffee. Cool service. Real chill place. So, if you're tired of the big coffee chains, I don't have to say any names, come on down, support the local shops, all right? All right. So, first of all, I'm going to just cut to the chase here. Let me make it pretty short. Do a few articles, a couple of them from Miami New Times, written by Jerry and Inelli. And I gotta say, he did some pretty good work here. So let's get started off here with saying FPL wins battle to shore radioactive waste under Miami's drinking water aquifer. Excuse me. And as it came out here, as it came out today to be exact, as it reads, South Florida sits atop of two gigantic underground stores of water, the Biscayne and Floridian aquifers. Miamians get most of their drinking water from the upper Biscayne Aquifer, while the government has the lower portion of the Floridian to dump waste and untreated sewage, despite the fact that multiple studies have warned that waste could one day seep into the drinking water. So environmentalists are concerned that Florida Power and Light now wants to dump full-on radioactive waste into that lower water table called the border zone. There's a link for that too, if you know, check it out. A small group of activists called Citizens Allied for Safe Energy, or acronym for CASE, tried to stop FPL's plan, but their legal petition was shot down this past Friday. According to NRC documents, CASE's petition was dismissed for being filed inexcusably late in FPL's application process. This was thrown out on procedural grounds, says CASE's president Barry J. White. The science is still there. Case has filed a petition with the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission, but the NRC on Friday threw out Case's complaint, saying the environmental group had filed too late in FPL's approval process. The fight stems from the energy company's plan to build two nuclear reactors at the controversial Turkey Point Nuclear Generating Station south of Miami by roughly 2030, which is in the city of Homestead, to be exact. All right, the towers might not be operational for a decade or two, but that doesn't mean the public should stop paying attention to them. FPL is submitting numerous proposals about the project to the government. As part of the package, FPL told the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission that it plans to store contaminated water used to clean the reactors, as well as radioactive waste, right of waste, in the border zone. In October, the NRC issued a report stating FPL's plan will pose no environmental impacts to the South Florida environment. I'm not convinced. I'll continue on here. Roughly a month later, on November 28th, Case filed a legal petition demanding that the NRC hold a hearing on the FPL's radioactive waste plan. Case alleges the government failed to address a host of concerns about the power company's plan. Everything will be put into a supposedly hermetically sealed border zone, White told New Times in December. But anybody who lives in South Florida knows nothing below us is hermetically sealed. Environments say plans could leak carcinogens and such as cesium, strontium-90, and tritium right into the drinking water aquifers. One thing I'll let you folks know that Florida is one big piece of limestone. Okay, so that's why buildings can sink periodically. Just to give you guys a heads up on our geological environment. All right, FPL spokesman Friday provided the following statement to the New Times. After an exhaustive and comprehensive review of the proposed Turkey Point Unit 6 and 7 project, including the plans to safely use reclaimed water for cooling. The Independent Nuclear Regulatory Commission staff concluded there are no environmental impacts to preclude issuing combined licenses to build and operate 2 reactors next to the existing Turkey Point nuclear power plant. But cases November complaint cited both government data and FPL's own engineer who admitted in separate hearings that waste could leak upward from the border zone into the Biscayne Aquifer. For one, the United States Groundwater Atlas, a government document, warns the border zone is thought to be connected to the Atlantic Ocean, possibly about 25 miles east of Miami, where the seafloor is almost 2,800 feet deep along the Straits of Florida. Case petition says the NRC failed to address this issue. Likewise, an upward hydraulic gradient from the Floridian Aquifer to the Biscayne Aquifer. An FPL engineer testified in January 2016. The Floridian is under pressure, therefore you have the flow from the Floridian into the Biscayne, not vice versa. Since filing that complaint, case also uncovered yet another government study which confirms the border zone can leak into underground sources of drinking water in South Florida. A 2015 study from the United States Geological Survey says numeric tectonic faults and other fissures exist under Biscayne Bay and the Miami Terrace, the seafloor immediately east of the Miami shoreline. The report states flatly recent studies by the U.S. Geological Survey of seismic reflection profiles acquired in offshore canals and offshore Biscayne Bay and the Atlantic continental shelf have indicated the presence of tectonic faults, one strike slip fault, and multiple reverse faults and karst collapse structures, as these studies substantiate the utility of the approach for locating feasible vertical fluid flow pathways. The strike slip fault and karst collapse structures span confining units of the Floridian aquifer system and could provide high permeability passageways for groundwater movement. If present at or near wastewater injection utilities, these features represent a plausible physical system for the upward migration of effluent injected into the border zone to overline the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency designated the underground sources of drinking water in the upper part of the Floridian aquifer system. The evidence is so strong that it is doubtful the zone is hermetically sealed, White says. FPL contends that any radioactive waste discharges will be carefully monitored to ensure they won't leak, but the company's credibility with the public is not in good shape. Early last year, Miami-Dade County officials said cooling canals from Turkey Point were already leaking waste into Biscayne Bay. Their deal and FPL alleged refusal to take proper responsibility for the damage led to a lawsuit. Now White says he and Case plan to lobby state lawmakers to try to outlaw injections into the border zone through state law. To put things mildly, Case is fighting an uphill battle. FPL is one of the latest campaign donors in Fort Lauderdale, Florida politics, and there's a NRC's full rejection letter in there on a PDF format, which is 22 pages long. So this is as I read, study a lot of stuff on other areas of nuclear reactors, it's been leaking in a lot of places, and it's pretty dangerous, I would say. I'm not really crazy about nuclear energy as a whole. All right, because I remember Turkey Point. I remember Hurricane Andrew went through. Homestead was leveled by Hurricane Andrew. Turkey Point was in that same area. He said one of the chimneys actually collapsed. But I will recommend, in good faith, FPL don't pursue this dump into the border zone. Like I said before, Florida is one big piece of limestone. And the people who work in these sites should be thinking about their families, their loved ones, because they can get sick as well. So folks should check out Case or the Citizens Ally for Safe Energy and see what you can do. Spread this message around. And Jerry and Ellie did a good job on this. So one thing for sure, my friends, stay vigilant. All right, because if this thing put this leak, if they make this happen, okay, it can affect the Everglades, the mangroves, even down the Keys. And none of us want it. That's plain and simple. The folks in Florida better really be paying attention to this. All right. Next one here is from Miami New Times again, and it's by the same writer. Has a video. Cops arrest Sabal Trail protesters, handcuffed the pipeline, and it came out today. It says here protests against the Sabal Trail pipeline, energy company owned natural gas project slated to run from Alabama to Central Florida, have reached a fever pitch. Over the weekend, hundreds of peaceful protesters picketed and chanted in Suwannee County. They demanded that the trivium rate of energy companies building the $3 billion pipeline, Duke Energy, Spectra Energy, and NextEra Era Energy, which owns Florida Power and Light, reconsider their actions. But today the protest descended into clash with cops. Roughly 90 minutes ago, police arrested demonstrators after a small group handcuffed itself at the pipeline's current construction site. The sit-in had been planned as a day of peaceful civil disobedience in honor of Martin Luther King Day. In response, a group of police officers, some dressed in bulletproof vests, marched arm in arm toward demonstrators and wrenched them from the construction site near Live Oak. An hour ago, a group of protesters sat cross-legged while reading excerpts from King's I Have a Dream speech. Local cops stood with their arms crossed in front of the protesters. I pray that this chaos will stop and the beautiful Suwannee will be restored, one protester said. At least two other activists sat chained to a construction truck. By around 11:30 p.m., police lost their patience while sitting just before noon. So 11:30 a.m., they began ordering protesters to leave the camp, vacate the roadway. The cops began shouting. After protesters asked what laws they are breaking, videos showed the cops lining elbow to elbow and marching the protesters away from the camp. Some demonstrators saying, "We shall overcome." As officers march forward, cops can be seen arresting at least one person. New Times just reached out to the demonstrators via Facebook Messenger. This post will be updated if they respond. Through protests against the Sabal Trail pipeline have been far smaller than those of the infamous Dakota Access Pipeline in North Dakota. Police and activists had clashed regularly for the past few months. On November 12th, more than a dozen anti-pipeline activists wound up in police custody after one protester locked himself inside a tanker truck outside Gainesville. But since the storm over the Dakota pipeline has died down, environmentalists have increasingly turned their attention to the Sabal Trail. Many climate change activists and scholars believe it's time the nation stop investing in fossil fuel infrastructure, but the Sabal Trail project has continued unabated regardless. Many believe the fact it is due to Florida Governor Rick Scott himself. Scott once made an $108,000 investment in Spectra Energy, one of the companies building pipeline. Spectra, however, had a long documented history of environmental actions in Florida. The link for that too. And the Suwannee River is a real historical. Live Oak is a real beautiful area. Okay, you can put a pipeline through there and jeopardize that river. Come on, give me an effing break. This whole natural gas stuff, projects. How about we just industrialize hemp, use solar power, open up the damn market? And remember, the Florida state song is the Suwannee River. Okay, so and we want to keep it all good folks at home instead of having it contaminate our folks at home. All right. And this is pretty damn disturbing. And I know, like a couple weeks ago, they had a protest on it, which is great, and more people are interested going to be heading up there. And so, if Rick Flip-Flop Briscott is involved in this project, he needs to step down and take his wife with him, because remember, a guy like that does contaminate space. And there's times I will praise him, but this one here, if that's the case, I will condemn him for it. And the people who work in those pipelines better think about it as well. Pollute the waters, it could be your loved ones may get sick from it. If it gets into explosion, Lord willing, that won't happen. All right, finally, came from Ron Paul Liberty Report. It says it's entitled by Ron Paul himself, Martin Luther King Jr. versus the American Empire. And here's a great quote here's a great quote from Martin Luther King Jr. The greatest purveyor of violence in the world today is my own government. And as it reads here, I think the thing that I admire the most about Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. is that he preached nonviolent civil disobedience. Most people will not talk about Reverend King's anti-war views, and it may have been for one of the reasons that he was assassinated. In honor of Reverend King's birthday, I like to share some heroic quotes of his against the American military empire. The great purveyor of violence in the world today is my own government. We must pursue peaceful end through peaceful means. Another one here. We all have to be concerned about terrorism, but you will never end terrorism by terrorizing others. Hope for the people who are working for these tyrannical entities better be listening. Wars are poor chisels for carving out peaceful tomorrows. Another one here. Nothing good ever comes violence. The chain reaction of evil wars was producing more wars must be broken. We shall be plunged into the dark abyss of annihilation. We must concentrate not merely on the negative expulsion of war, but the positive affirmation of peace. I have condemned any organizer of war, regardless of his rank or nationality. Peace is not merely a distant goal that we seek, but a means by which we arrive at that goal. God didn't call America to do what she's doing in the world now. God didn't call America to engage in a senseless, unjust war as the war in Vietnam. And we are criminals in that war. We've committed more war crimes almost than any nation in the world. I am going to continue to say it. And we don't stop it because of our pride and our arrogance as a nation. That is powerful quotes from a man that they took out. Those areas I will pay homage to Dr. King for peace. These unnecessary wars, I call them banksters' wars, should be censured by every single one of us in the United States plus the world. This is why when I see politicians want to create war, start wars, or impose sanctions, I want those yahoos and imbeciles on the front line. Let's see how tough they are. I don't have to say any names. You folks can figure that out. This is why I always use the quote, demoniac resistance. We can use it by defying these conflagrations. We need to stop it immediately. And it is happening. The spiritual warfare is still in progress. Everyone can take the initiative on exercising what is right. Killing imperialism is nothing more than a monumental lie. Deep down inside, you know I'm right. And like I said, it's short but sweet, and that is all. I'd like to thank everyone for listening, plus feel free to download and share this throughout your social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, or you want to send me something that's interesting I may want to check out, whatever you do, please deliver your correspondences with decorum. You keep me on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Tumblr, YouTube, Freedom's Network, Scene.life, or Minds.com. In addition, you can email me at LokiLuck3, which is LokiLuck3 at gmail.com. All right, folks, that's all for now. And once again, thank you for your time. Let's always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves, keep on spreading the love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.